accessible remotely. Please join the meeting from your computer, tablet, or smartphone using the access code that has been previously provided in the City Council agenda. Pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the Open Meeting Law, General Law, Chapter 38, Section 18, and the Governor's March 15, 2020 order imposing strict limitations on the number of people that may gather in one place, this public meeting of the Lawrence City Council for the City of Lawrence, Massachusetts is hereby being conducted via remote participation. No in-person attendance by members of the public will be permitted, but the public can listen and/or view the meeting while in progress by the use of Facebook and YouTube with the access code that has been referenced previously in the agenda. Members of the public attending the meeting virtually will be allowed to make comments if they wish to do so during the portion of the hearings designated for public comments by the use of web and phone access provided previously. You can do so via Zoom or by phone. If you're watching from via YouTube and Facebook, you will need to log in via Zoom. The meeting ID is 868-9846-6339, and the passcode is letters CC, numbers 122920. Once again, the Zoom access meeting ID is numbers 868-9846-6339, passcode letters CC, numbers 122920. Mr. Clerk, roll call, please.
But it's not showing my face.
Councilor Estela Reyes.
Present.
Councilor Ana Levy.
Present.
Councilor Selena Reyes.
Present.
Councilor David Abdu.
Present.
Councilor Pavel Payano.
Present.
Councilor Maria de la Cruz.
Present.
How do I get my picture?
Councilor Giovanni Rodriguez.
Present.
Councilor Mark LaPlante. Councilor LaPlante.
Got my co-show.
He appears to have dropped off.
Noted. And Council President Kendra Vasquez.
I'm on.
I am present. Thank you.
It doesn't.
Moving on, please join me for a moment of silence. Thank you. Now, please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the
United States of America, to the Republic, for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Councilors, we have no minutes to be approved. We do have, so my understanding for special council meetings, we normally do not have public participation, correct? I know that there's members of the audience that wish to speak on a particular topic, which I believe will be given the opportunity later on. So I am not able to participate in that discussion due to conflict of interest, so I will not be participating in it. So we'll move on to the public hearings, and once I am no longer in the meeting, the floor will be open. It is my understanding by Mr. Vice President. So we do have public hearings. Document 24220 is amend City Clerk's Ordinance 216. City Clerk, it was placed on the agenda by myself, and it came with a committee report from the Committee of the Whole. Councilor Bernal, please read the notice.
Okay.
Oh, está bien, gracias.
Thank you, Council President. Notice is hereby, I don't know if we can change that. Notice is hereby given that the council will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, December 29th in the City Council chambers. The purpose of said hearing is to gather testimony and information, public input concerning the provided amendment to the revised issuance of the revised ordinance of the City of Lawrence to be further amended, deleting a paragraph, section 2.16.010 of the municipal code for the city clerk, which currently is 2.161010. Duty is to attend city council meetings. The city clerk shall attend and keep the records of all meetings of the city council, and insert in its place the following new paragraph to section 2.16.010 of the municipal code.
Yeah, the computer. It had
A,
phone.
appointment. There shall be appointed by the city council in accordance with section 3.6C of the city charter, a city clerk. Appointment of the city clerk shall be for a fixed term, which may
All
be
right.
renewed
Right.
or extended without limitation pursuant to an employment contract which shall be entered into between the city and the city clerk at the time of appointment, and which shall also be set the compensation to be paid to the city clerk and such other specific terms and conditions of employment as may be required by the city council. Section B, duties. The city clerk shall have the care and custody of all city records, documents, vital statistics, bonds of the city offices, contracts, maps, plans, and papers, and shall have such powers and duties with respect to the regulation and supervision of elections and the issuance of licenses as are provided by law. As clerk of the city council, the city clerk shall attend and give notice of all meetings of the city council to its members and to the public, keep the journal of proceedings, and perform such other duties as may be assigned by the charter, by ordinance, or by the vote of the city council. As the city's chief election officer, the city clerk is responsible for all aspects of voter registration, absentee voting, and election administration for all elections, and serve as the campaign finance officer for local elections. The city clerk serves as a member of the Board of Registrars of Voters and the clerk of the Board of Registrars of Voters. The city clerk shall have such additional powers and duties as the city council may from time to time prescribe. To the extent that there exists any ordinances to the contrary, they are hereby repealed in that respect only.
Thank you, Councilor Bernal. Public hearing is now open. Is there anyone on the audience that wishes to be heard, specifically on the city clerk's position? If you wish to be heard, please notify. Okay, I believe Mr. Malley wishes to speak on this.
Yes, sir.
John, please unmute Mr. Marley. Mr. Malley?
Yes. Good evening, honorable members. In this important year, when our city clerk left during the pandemic, we need a city clerk to oversee the issue of the election. It is important for this immigrant city. We have hired somebody in that position that the previous city clerk hold them for a long time. So we respectfully request from you to help us to appoint new person in this important year that we have the mayoral election for our city. We are grateful to your hard work working during the pandemic. Please appoint somebody qualified for the position of the city clerk in our city. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Malley. Is there anyone else that wishes to be heard specifically on the city clerk's ordinance? If there's none, councilors, is there a
Council
motion?
President, I'd like to make a motion to adopt the ordinance, proposed ordinance as written, to declare it an emergency and to waive it 30 days.
Second.
There's a motion on the floor by Council Vice President LaPlante. It has been seconded by Councilor Estela Reyes. Is there any discussion?
Council President?
Councilor De La Cruz?
Yes, okay, I have a question. Can I have a question at this moment?
Of course, yes, you can.
Okay. What will be the salary for the new clerk?
At this point, we are only approving the actual ordinance. The salary, it is something that we will have to negotiate and contract with.
Okay. My other question is, with all those qualifications that I was reading for the city clerk, it's going to be very difficult for us to have, to appoint somebody quick. Because it's a lot of requirement for one person to do so much. Then I don't, it's going to be hard for people to qualify with all the demands that it is on the new ordinance. I understand that we need somebody with the capacity to do a good job, with the capacity to have the skills that we need to, but at the same time, it is a lot of requests.
Yes.
It is my point of view, because it's a very long list of skills that that person needed to have. Hopefully, I hope that we can get somebody from the community that can do the job, that has the capacity. But the demands are a lot.
Thank you, Councilor De La Cruz. Point well taken. Great. I appreciate it. Is there any other councilors that wishes to be heard? Is there any other councilors? Doesn't seem like there is. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Council Vice President LaPlante,
Yes.
Councilor Giovanni Rodriguez,
Yes.
Councilor Maria De La Cruz, Councilor Maria
Yeah.
De La Cruz,
Yes.
Councilor Pavel Payano,
Yes.
Councilor David Abdu,
Yes.
Councilor Selena Reyes,
Yes.
Councilor Ana Levy,
Yes.
Councilor Estela Reyes,
Yes.
Council President Kendra Vasquez.
My vote is yes. The motion passed. Councilors, we have their next document, which is under old business. Document 26820. I'm sorry, table matters. Document on the table matters. Is there a motion to take document 24120 out of table matters?
Removed.
Second.
Motion has been made. I believe it was made by Council Vice President LaPlante. Is that correct? And it was seconded by Councilor Estela Reyes. Okay.
Council President, can you repeat what we're taking out of table matters, please?
Document 24120, the posting of city clerk vacancy in the office of the city clerk. Okay, roll call, please.
Oh, this is the posting actually? Yes, the posting that we
Yes.
discussed, right?
So remember, we have two documents. One, in order to be able to post the position, we needed to approve the ordinance first. So essentially what that's giving us is we're authorizing Director Frank Bonnet to now draft the posting for the position. So we couldn't post unless the ordinance changed, or if it didn't change, it will have been done with the previous ordinance.
So let me see, but hold on. We discussed the posting and we table it until we approve the ordinance to have it as a
Yes.
yes. So essentially, it's no new draft or anything. It's whatever we discussed at the committee of the whole.
Yes.
Correct. So the ordinance is what we had previously discussed, but we couldn't post the position until the ordinance was approved.
Yes.
So this is the second step to be able to hire, well, not the second step. The second step to start the hiring process for a new city clerk. Any further questions or comments?
Point of parliamentary inquiry, Mr. President.
Mr. Vice President?
Sure. So I just want to make sure that when this was tabled, it was tabled based on a motion that I provided that evening. So I just want to affirm that I have the floor on the underlying motion. Is that correct?
Councilor Bernal, please confirm, but it sounds correct, yes.
Yes, it's correct.
That is correct.
And
I'm fine.
council, so do we going to take the vote to take it off the table? I'm sorry, I interrupted that.
Yeah,
So,
we have a
I
vote to
will-
take it off table
I'll
first.
rescind my questions until after that vote. Thank you.
Mhm. Any other further questions or comments? Seeing there's none, roll call, please.
Councilor Estela Reyes,
Yes.
Councilor Ana Levy,
Yes.
Councilor Selena Reyes,
Yes.
Councilor David Abdu,
Yes.
Councilor Pavel Payano,
Yes.
Councilor Maria De La Cruz,
Yes.
Councilor Giovanni Rodriguez,
Yes.
Councilor Mark LaPlante,
Yes.
Council President Kendra Vasquez.
My vote is yes, the motion passed. We now have a motion on the floor that was before the document was tabled. It was a motion to approve, and it was made by Councilor LaPlante. Can you confirm that, please, Councilor Bernal?
I had the motion being made by Councilor LaPlante, being seconded by Councilor Selena Reyes to, that was to table the motion. I'm sorry, prior to that, we had a motion by Mark LaPlante, seconded by Councilor Estela Reyes to approve the motion, and then had been tabled. Yes, that is correct.
That is correct, yes. So councilors, any further questions or comments?
Council President?
I have 3 people that I believe I heard. It was Councilor LaPlante, Councilor Rodriguez, and I think I heard Councilor Payano. No, okay. So Councilor LaPlante?
Thank you very much, Council President. So one of the things that we did a lot of the work at the committee on the whole, and the one thing that we didn't do in the committee on the whole was to essentially establish a salary. Is this the appropriate time to have that discussion?
I think so, because the ordinance itself doesn't have an amount attached to it. However, I think that on the posting, it might be appropriate for us to give an estimate, or an average of what we're anticipating to pay whoever assumes the office of the city clerk. So if councilors wish to make this as part of the motion, I'm all ears.
So, the Council President, I will. That will be my intent. Before I'm going to make one comment, and then I'm going to offer to be a part of the motion, and I'm going to provide some documentation on the screen here so you can see some of the background information. But it is absolutely critical, Council President, that we get a clerk working as soon as possible. Council President, as you know, the clerk Maloney left several weeks ago now. We have an acting city clerk, Richard Reyes, who sent his resignation letter to us that he will no longer be working as the clerk or working in the city of Lawrence as effective January the 15th. We have right now an assistant city clerk that's relatively new in that position. That's going to have to be moved up. We are looking potentially at now that this has been totally there's been a lot of dominoes falling, and the underpinnings of that department are really being attacked tremendously. We've had COVID that has struck that department, that elections, not only the elections, but the city clerk's office. I am told that on election day, out of the 4 or 5 people that were working in the elections that day, 4 of them received COVID. As a matter of fact, today, the city clerk's office had to be recused because someone else had COVID today. And so the city clerk's office was closed. We have a lot of instability right now, and it's going to be incumbent upon us and this time to act quickly. We are later this evening, we're probably going to have maybe a vote on a special election. We are now throwing even more pressure on a city clerk's office that currently is required to do the annual listing, and it will be needed to go ahead and potentially put together a special election within 30 days. And we've lost 2 critical people in that department. It is imperative that we get somebody as soon as possible. I don't even know if, even if we get somebody as soon as possible, that we're going to be able to do what we're required to do in such short order, because the task is so daunting. The requirements are so are burdensome at this point, and we have very few people with the skill set right now. I want to take this quick moment to thank somebody who's a former colleague of ours who is stepping up to do a tremendous amount of work to try to help us stay afloat, because that's what we're doing. We are treading water at this point in that city clerk's office. And I want to thank the clerk to the council right now is a temporary appointment for us. Our former colleague, Councilor Brunel, for all the work that she is doing. I don't know where the duct tape is coming from, but thankfully we have enough of it to make sure that we're getting it through. So having said all this, what I want to do is I think we need to attract the best person possible. It is critical. Our salary ranges right now for the city clerk's office compared to regional is very low. If you'll allow me, I'm going to show a little bit of research that I did on this to show what kind of numbers we're looking at. Just bear with me. Can you all see the screen?
Yes. Yes.
Just
So-
make it a little bigger.
I can try. Is that helpful?
That's smaller.
Or,
You can make it bigger on your own screen.
oh, that's a good point. You just bear with me. Bear with me. Bear with me. Not easily, I might add. My apologies. I will read this because
If
I'm
you
not.
see, Councilor LaPlante, where
Yes.
it says 125%.
All right, I'll try that.
Okay, so
There we go.
there,
Thank you, sir. Oh, how's that? That better?
much better.
How's that?
Perfect.
Okay.
That's
All right.
perfect.
So what I've done here is put together what I consider to be some of the gateway cities like Lawrence, and just to kind of give a sense as to what we're looking at here. The current city council city clerk salary, according to our budget, is $69,000, and according to our city budget, we pay an $1,100 stipend for other responsibilities. I believe that's like the clerk of the council. As you can see through there, the range is quite wide, but I can tell you that that 69,000, despite the range, is below what we're looking at to be competitive, to try to bring someone of some talent to our city. I mean, the outliers here are very simple. I mean, look at the very first one. This is, I believe, alphabetical. 131,000 is Brockton. I mean, we're not even close. I mean, we're almost half of that here in the city of Lawrence. But if you go across, I mean, even the least amount out of this group was Methuen at 82,000. And I'm not sure of anything, but at some point, I'm sure they're going to look to bring that up as well. But if you look at the common numbers of that, I think that we need to be competitive with the towns like Revere and Lynn and Lowell and Haverhill. I mean, these are some of the sister cities and other cities that we have. What I'm going to be part of the motion to try to be competitive. We don't need to beat Brockton. We don't need to beat Haverhill. We don't need to beat Lynn or Lowell, but we need to be competitive. So I'm going to make as part of this motion a Lawrence City clerk salary of $100,000. I think that's right in the middle. It's not too high, it's not too low, but it is relatively competitive, and we got to get someone on board. So I'm going to take this off right now, Council President, because I think we all had a chance to see that. Hang with me here, if I can. I'm just going to do this. Oh, here we go. So anyway, so part of my motion will be to have a salary of $100,000. And with that, I'll relinquish the floor.
Council President.
Now, an amendment to the motion has been made. Thank you, Council Vice President. I had Councilor Rodriguez and then Councilor Payan.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Council President. Essentially, I was going to go and allow Bonet to do the research that Councilor LaPlante just present in front of us. And I was going to propose to have a range of salary instead of just one specific number. since we're gonna be able to negotiate and not necessarily let somebody go for a specific amount of money. So what I was going to propose is to allow Bonet to take the median salary of the 10 surrounding cities around Lawrence that are similar to us. And from there, take a range of salaries, perhaps 90 to 105 or something like that, to allow the negotiation to happen. And that way it will make candidates more attractive to the position and be able to join the city.
Thank you, Councilor Rodriguez. Councilor Payano, you have the floor.
Thank you, Council President. So I think, so in my previous discussion with Director Bonet, I believe he was under the impression, I think Council President, you alluded to this at the beginning of this, that this, the question I asked was there going to be a range as far as a salary range? And I believe he was under the impression that that was going to be something that was negotiated, sort of similar to what we did with the chief of police. I believe that instead of setting a exact number, in order to ensure that we get the best individual for the job, we should take a similar approach as we did to the chief of police search, which is essentially, we have our interviews, we find the right person, and we try to negotiate the right salary for that individual. Whether that salary is higher than the 100,000 or lower would be determined by the individuals that we get. I think this is what we were discussing. It seemed like it was what we were discussing at our last meeting. And I think that's in my mindset, I believe that's might be the best approach that we can take to ensure that that salary isn't the obstacle to ensure that we have the right candidate for the job.
Thank you, Councilor Payano.
A question for you, Council President, is that in your discussions with Director Bonet, is that what was told, or was he asked to do a salary range? Like, I'm wondering if perhaps I misunderstood and there was work on creating a salary range.
Yes. So Director Bonet provided us some ranges similar to what and information similar to what Council Vice President LaPlante has provided us with. And I think that I agree. Maybe having a set amount might be challenging to attract candidates. We should have some room for negotiation, similar to what Councilor Rodriguez proposed. Maybe a range, Councilor LaPlante. Not sure if you will be open, to amending your amendment, essentially to have a range. Maybe the proposal by Councilor Rodriguez was between 90 to 105. So it will give us some opportunity to negotiate with candidates that.
Councilor President.
Can do that. Councilor LaPlante.
Thank you. I thought, I'm sorry. So I will, yes, let me amend my amendment. I will include a range. The range that I think, listening to the conversation here, will be from 95,000 to 110,000.
Okay, perfect. So there has been an amendment, Councilor Bernal, and I heard Councilor Estela Reyes, and I think now is Councilor Maria de la Cruz. Councilor Reyes.
Thank you, Councilor President, but was the ranges between 100 and 110, so we can block those numbers. If it happens that we get the candidate, we can negotiate the range of the salary.
Yes. So I think that the proposal by Councilor LaPlante was 95 to Councilor LaPlante was 95 to 110.
That would be the range, and we would negotiate with that individual. It could be 110, it could be 100, 105, but anywhere around there in part of the negotiations, correct?
Perfect. Councilor de la Cruz.
Yes, I believe that because that salary was so low, I believe that we should start higher, but at the same time low. That we get between let's say between 80 and the 100 at the beginning. After we get the person, then we can negotiate the salary. Because if we put a number over there, we're going to get a lot of resume, a lot of people coming just because of the money. Then can we discuss the money at another time after we get the candidate? Because otherwise, we're going to get a lot of resume and people without the capacity. And we might make the mistake of choosing the wrong person just because they come in because of the salary or the high salary. Then I think we should wait for the salary.
Thank you, Councilor De La Cruz. Councilors, any other questions or comments?
Council President.
Councilor Payano.
Thank you, Council President. So I'm wondering if the Vice President might be interested in amending his motion. I know that grade 9 non-union is between 90 and 120. I think it would be great that that we ensure that whatever range we set is to the same standards as we're doing with all of the other employees that we have. So I'm wondering if he would be up for amending that motion to be to grade 9 non-union.
It's not a
Vice
non-union.
President LaPlante.
Council President, let me do this. There are other city councilors who have not had a chance to speak yet through you, Mr. President. I may just garner more discussion and listen to a few more of the arguments pro and con, and I'm open to that, but I just want to hear what other councilors have to say about the various proposals, if that's okay. I'd rather make sure that the amendment reflects what I'm hearing from the body.
Okay. Thank you, Council Vice President. Councilor Rodriguez.
No, I was gonna say that this position is a non-union position, so grade might be a good idea, but not necessarily have to be like as similar as others positions, since this is a non-union position.
Thank you, Councilor Rodriguez. Councilors, any other questions or comments? If not, I'll give the floor back to Councilor LaPlante. Was that Councilor Apple?
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to open by reinforcing the articulate and appreciated words by the Council Vice President regarding this position. I won't repeat what he said regarding the role of the city clerk with elections, but this is, and I think we all can appreciate what Ms. Burnell is doing tonight, and I want to chip in my personal thanks and what Mr. Maloney did beforehand. This job is critical, not only to the functioning of this legislative body, but to the city as a whole. I believe that we're heading in the right direction. I wanted to speak because I would encourage the author of the amendment, Mr. LaPlante, and others to consider a possibly higher number, close to 120, 125s on the higher end of the competitiveness. I would like to see the next city clerk come in and she or he to staff up the office, staff up the elections office. We don't have an elections office right now, and the chief elections officer is leaving on January 15th. And thank you to Mr. Reyes. He not only has been filling in for Mr. Maloney since retirement, but he got us through the last election. This is a complex, I believe, a complex and demanding job. And not only with the minutes and the legal aspects and compliance with the Secretary of State's office, but all the things that go into the clerk's office, like licenses and of various sorts. And this person needs to be able to function not only in Boston with the Secretary of State's office, if you will, but also have a multilingual front desk and serve all the people of Lawrence. Again, not to mention elections every year and this city council every Tuesday night and every day in between. So with that, I would encourage us to consider not only what we're currently with what Mr. LaPlante said, but possibly as high as 120 or 125. I'm not sure, Mr. Payano mentioned grade 9. I'm not sure what that bracket is like, the low and the high end, but you know, I like where we are at 95, possibly 120, 125, and that'd be a negotiable number. So it doesn't have to be 125, it could be 95, but give some flexibility so that the next city clerk we hire can go another 20 years like the last city clerk. The city deserves stability and deserves the service. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor Abdu. I have Councilor Levy.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. Yes, I know that we are having a very crucial times right now, not having a city clerk. It's very important that we try to get this thing as soon as possible and get somebody on board. Right now, we are trying to get a salary. I think that's it's okay, like between like a 90 and 105 for now, but as we need to get an increase or make it some changes, I think so that we should go with that also. But I would like to hear, because I think, yeah, one of the things that Mr. Bonet said that he's going to be also giving some range regarding what we are proposing for the job description. So I would like to hear from him, knowing that he is maybe the person or that he know better, you know, what will be the range on a salary for this kind of position. But I think that for now, from 90 to 105, that range, if we have to increase depending on the experience that we're looking for, the qualification and all those kind of things, maybe we should increase one thing, I don't know. But for now, I think that from 90 to 105 is good. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Levy. Is there anyone else that wishes to be heard? Any other councilors? Seeing there's none.
Councilor President, Ms. Reyes wishes to speak.
Councilor Reyes?
No,
Thank you, Council President. I think we had tonight a great opportunity to decide to have a great budget to have the funding to negotiate with the candidate. I think 95 to 110 is a great opportunity to hiring our new city clerk.
Thank you, Councilor Reyes. Is there anyone else that wishes to be heard?
Council President, if all the councils, thank you. If all the councils have had a chance to speak, I wanted to factor in some of their comments, and there is a range, right? I think that it's seemingly for the most part, everybody's thinking the floor is 95, and there's what I'm hearing is there's discussion. Should it be 110? Should it be 120? There seems to be a real range on that. Like any other legislative process, sometimes you got to cut it in half somewhere. So a couple things. I'm going to raise it up to 100, and my motion will be to range up to 115. So a $20,000 delta, if you will. And that gives us the opportunity to negotiate. It doesn't mean we're going to go to 115. It doesn't mean we're 95, but it gives us a good breath of potentially bringing someone in. That's the first part. The second part is I'm going to be putting an emergency declaration to waive the 30 days and put this out immediately. So that is also part of my motion. And the last thing is because we can't have a 2-month search on this. We just don't have the time. We're not afforded that luxury. So my motion is going to say that we are going to put 2 weeks out. We're going to ask as soon as this thing hits the outside world that we have 2 weeks to get those applications in. I then think we should evaluate those applicants. If we have an applicant that fits and that we're happy with, we should bring that person on board immediately. If in reviewing the applications, they don't measure up, let's expand if we have to. Let's rehuddle if we have to. But we need to have a very, very tight amount because of all the reasons that we now all know, right? We're not surprised. So that is my motion, Council President. To recap, as it was sent up to the full council by the committee on the whole, salary range between 95 and 115, a 2-week window for applications to go out, and an emergency declaration that we're going to waive the 30 days and have this posted immediately. That is the motion.
I second.
Motion is second by Councilor Stella Reyes.
Council President,
Up. Okay, sorry. My bad.
Okay. Councilor Bernal, roll call, please.
Council President.
Oh,
Yes.
Councilor Bayano.
Thank you, Council President. I was trying to gauge in the discussion. From what I'm hearing, Councilor Plant, is essentially there's three motions in one. I do, as far as the compromise regarding salary, even though I think the cap should be higher, I think, it's a compromise. I understand it. That's great. I do disagree as far as the that 2-week time period. I don't know. I think before, it would have been great if Director Bonet was here so we could just ask him if that's even doable, to ensure that we have a good candidate within 2 weeks. I'm hesitant to believe, that that's doable in 2 weeks, maybe a month, maybe a little bit longer. I understand that we need somebody right away, but we want someone permanent. We want someone that would be great for the job and, is a great fit. I think it should be longer. I'm wondering, Mr. Vice President, if you would be willing to put that in 2 separate motions. So have, one motion be salary. I forget what the third piece was, and the second motion be, within 2 weeks. Because I think that's a separate discussion item.
Councilor LaPlante, do you accept that as an amendment? And we could do 241B20 that will encompass waiving the 30 days, the declaration of as an emergency. It will include the salary range, and document 241B20 essentially will be the turnaround time, whether it is 2 weeks as the motion that you present or anything else. Do you accept that, Mr. Vice President?
I'm thinking, Council President. Can I claim the floor for a moment, Council President, to answer my colleague's question?
Councilor LaPlante, go ahead.
Thank you. Let me push back a little bit, through you, Council President, just a little bit. I think that we still retain the ability to, if we don't get a qualified candidate that we're happy with within 2 weeks, it doesn't mean that we're required to go ahead and bring somebody on board. All we are going to do, if we don't agree with that to a person, we will then extend that period for an additional, whatever we feel, 2 weeks or weeks. We can have that discussion down the road a piece. So hearing what my colleague is concerned about, I get that. I think that part of this motion understands that, acknowledges it, and says, just because we have a 2-week period doesn't mean that we have to hire someone. But if we get someone in 2 weeks, I don't want to have a really good candidate in day 5, hypothetically, and then we got to wait a month or a month and a half or whatever the time frame is because we're going to wait for more. We might get somebody really fast. I don't know, but we could. And let's get that person on as soon as possible. So I hear what the councilor is saying, through you, Mr. President, and I'm sensitive to it. I'm going to keep it together because I think that we owe that as part of the package. This is comprehensive. It's a comprehensive package, and I think one deals with the other. So I hope that answers the question. I hope that satisfies the councilor, because I do understand, and he makes a very good point. But I think this motion actually speaks to it.
Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. Councilor Rodriguez.
Yes, I just want to be realistic and look at my schedule here in front of me. Today is December 29. Tomorrow is the 30th. Thursday is the 31st. So basically what we're saying that by the 12th, we have to have somebody. We have no money to advocate for that because we haven't allocated any type of money to actually do a search. And then by the 12th, which basically we're saying 2 weeks from today, because it's immediately, we have to take immediate action. So basically we're going to publish this week, but really if anybody's going to apply, they're going to be seeing it, because it's not about when we post it, it's about when people see it or candidates see it. Basically we are talking about the week of from the 4th to the 9th, that's basically when people are going to see it. By the 12th, we're supposed to be setting up interviews. That's not realistic. So, Council President, based on the procedures and the parliamentary procedures, you have the ability to split the item into A and B as you propose. This doesn't have to be part of the motion, and we can definitely take both items into consideration based on your ability to split it in two different items, A and B. Which one is going to be the time frame? If we agree on the 2 weeks, and the other one is going to be, which is completely different, the range for the salary. So we cannot lose sight. This is the holidays season right now. We're still meeting, but people don't necessarily are going to be, going to be aware of there is a position available in the city of Lawrence for city clerk because they are going through some difficult time. No, people are not going to necessarily see that. So I'm definitely concerned about the 2 weeks because it is a sensitive time for people to be able to see. It's not about us, it's about other candidates that are now working for the city of Lawrence to come over, make a determination and be able to work for the city. So I think that if we want to talk about, rushing things up, this is the best practice. Rush and good are not going together.
Councilor President.
Thank you, Councilor Rodriguez. Councilor Estela Reyes.
Thank you, Councilor President. Councilor Vice President, if you want to keep the two motions together or the two together, will you accept not to put any time frame just because due to the holiday that we're still pending, and probably that person, who knows, can be sick at home and not have enough time just to apply? I mean, I understand we have an emergency, we have urgent just to have somebody, but do you think that if we want to keep it together, just take the 2 weeks frame time?
Council President.
Mr. Vice President.
Thank you. So I am listening. I guess my question would be for those who, and I'm inclined to go ahead and split this. Let me start off with saying that because I do want to make sure that we're all on board. It's important that we're all on board, and I want to make sure that we're there. And if it takes that, I'm going to head. But what I want to find out is for those who think that 2 weeks is too short, I would be curious to learn what's the right amount of time. Because if we wait a month, if we wait 6 weeks, if we wait 2 months, what's the right amount of time? Because the longer we wait, the cons are, the longer it's going to take for us to fill the position. So I'm curious as to those who think that 2 weeks is too short, what is their proposal?
Council President, if I might, through you.
Councilor Rodriguez.
Yes, well, what I think we should do is to allow Fran Bonet, which is the expert from the Human Resource Department, to recommend us the proper time. And if you can allow me, I would like to have that as a motion to be able to allow Fran Bonet to advise us, the councilors, the politicians, the people that not necessarily knows about human resource, to allow him to actually propose a plan in terms of the proper search for that position as he have done for other positions.
Second.
Discussion.
So there's another motion on the floor. It has been properly second. Discussion, Mr. Vice President, a plan.
So all of that makes a lot of sense because you want to go to the person who's got the expertise, you want to get their opinion, and then you want to implement it. I mean, in the normal setting, that is the way we should be doing it. What my concern is the time. We wait a week or two. I mean, later this evening, we're talking about a very compressed schedule. We're going to be voting on something that's going to be very compressed. What we're suggesting here is in the normal course of business, that makes perfect sense. Let's have that Bonet make that recommendation. And then when are we going to get the recommendation? And then are we going to wait until another city council meeting to vote on it? So are we looking at mid-January to go ahead? The January 5th meeting is we're going to have the LEA. We got a lot of stuff going on in that meeting. Are we going to be able to get that in time? It's on Tuesday, right? I mean, we're almost posting time at this point for next Tuesday's meeting. So we're talking mid-January, and then we're going to do an emergency deck for what, a month, and then we're going to be so the question here is, and it's not an easy decision, and I'll grant you that, but there's some give and take here. My recommendation is that let's use what we think is the right thing to do. If it's 3 weeks, listen, I can live with 3 weeks. Let's push it out 3 weeks. Okay. If that's where we're going with it. Okay. If we want, and I'm open to having a second vote, by the way, I'm open to bifurcating this, and let's have a discussion, because I want, if I'm wrong on this, I don't want to hijack this. I want the council to have an opinion on it. Right. So I'm willing to go ahead and separate. I'm willing to take the timing, and we're going to separate out, and we're going to make a decision as a body. Is it going to be 3 weeks, or are we going to have a wait for Bonet to come back? And then it could be a lot longer than that. So, Council President, I'm going to be, there's a motion on the floor. I'm going to be voting against that motion. And then I'm going to be offering, if it fails, I'm going to be separating the motion to allow 3 weeks, and then we can make a determination. And if the council, and we'll see where it goes from there.
Council President?
Yes.
Council President?
Councilor, go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Council President. I think that I understand Mr. LaPlante. If we're going to have an election in 2 or 3 months, we need a clerk to have experience and to be an expertise by the time. But Mr. LaPlante, at the same time, I think that we have to be very careful. We cannot be rushing to these needs that we have at this moment. We have to do this very slowly. We have to let's say that we get 10 candidates. We have to read the resume, because our request is a very long list. Then I agree that we should wait a month, the whole month of January, and then make a decision. This is a job that demands a lot of money. The pay, the salary range is a lot of money. And we don't want to pick anybody. We want to pick somebody who loves the city, number one, a person who is willing to work with us, number two, and a person who is willing to do the job with justice for all. Then it's a very delicate chosen at this point. I don't think we should pick anybody, but I don't think we should do this so quick, because I want somebody who is very respectful. I want somebody who knows about the procedures of the voting department, and I want somebody who is willing to work with the city of Lawrence. Then please, let's take our time on this. Let's wait for Mr. Bonet to come back to give us suggestions, and let's separate this topic. Let's leave it up to him to give us advices, as he did when we were choosing the police, the chief of police, and when we were choosing the city attorney. Then time is important at this moment. Thank you.
Council President. I think
I'm not sure the council president is here.
I don't see him on.
I think it's some connection issues.
Why don't we do this? I'll entertain. Okay, great. John, is the council president almost there? Because if not, we can make a motion to. So why don't we do this? Let's take a motion to, I'll accept, because he's not here, I'm gonna entertain a motion to recess until he comes back on, and then he can gavel us back into order. So because he's not here right now, is there a motion to recess? Motion made.
Second.
And second, I'm not sure who made it, but I heard a person in a second, and I'm gonna ask the clerk to read the roll, and then we'll come back when he comes back. Councilor Brunel?
I apologize. The motion is to go into recess. Councilor Estela Reyes,
Yes.
Councilor Ana Levy,
Yes.
Councilor Selena Reyes,
Yes.
Councilor David Abdu,
Yes.
Councilor Pavel Payano,
Yes.
Councilor Maria de la Cruz,
Yes.
Councilor Giovanni Rodriguez,
Yes.
Council Vice President Mark LaPlante,
Yes.
Council President Kendra Vasquez, Council President, noted.
We are in recess until the call of the chair. When the council president's back, we will reconvene. Do not, I'm not sure we should put ourselves on mute or not, but we'll wait.
Councilors, I apologize about the inconvenience. I had some technical difficulty. Councilor LaPlante?
We are currently in recess, Council President. Do you want to take us out of recess? I'll make a motion to come out of recess.
Is there a motion?
May I make the motion?
Second.
Motion has been made. It's been seconded by Councilor Reyes. Roll call, please.
Council Vice President Mark LaPlante,
Yes.
Councilor Giovanni Rodriguez,
Yes.
Councilor Maria de la Cruz, Councilor de la Cruz, noted. Councilor Pavel Payano,
Yes.
Councilor David Abdu,
Yes.
Councilor Selena Reyes,
Yes.
Councilor Ana Levy,
Yes.
Councilor Estela Reyes,
Yes.
Council President Kendra Vasquez.
My vote is yes. We're now out of recess. When I left the meeting, we were at the Council Vice President LaPlante was willing to subdivide the document between 241A and 241B. So how about if at this point we take a vote on 241A, which essentially it's everything that has been discussed except the time frame.
I think that I don't know if you missed something, but I have a motion to allow Mr. Bonet.
Yes, that's correct. Yes, yes. There's a motion on the floor by Councilor Rodriguez. Yes.
I think so that was second by
Councilor Payano.
Pavel.
Yes. So all those in favor of this motion, ready to call. Councilor Bernal, roll call, please.
Yes, Councilor. This is a motion to get recommendation from Mr. Bonet as to the timeframe for the posting. And I'm going to start with Council Vice President Mark LaPlante,
No.
Councilor Giovanni Rodriguez,
Yes.
Councilor Maria de la Cruz, noted. Councilor Pavel Payano,
Yes.
Councilor David Abdu,
Yes.
Councilor Selena Reyes, Councilor Selena Reyes,
Yes.
Councilor Ana Levy,
Yes.
Councilor Estela Reyes,
Yes.
and Council President Kendra Vasquez.
Yes, the motion passed.
Ms. Bernard, I'm here for my vote.
Okay, Councilor, how are you voting?
We're voting for it?
This is to get input from Mr. Bonet on a recommendation.
Yes.
Thank you, Councilor.
Thank you. So now going back to the motion, the original motion by Council Vice President LaPlante. Councilors.
Council President, I'm going to make, since we can't move on this tonight anyway, because we have to wait for a response back from Mr. Bonet. It's my understanding we can't do anything. I'm going to make a motion to table until we get that response because we can't do anything.
It's not,
Motion to,
not like we
motion.
cannot do.
motion to table has been made. Councilor Rodriguez, no discussion allowed in a motion to table.
I
Is
have
there-
a question.
is
Council
there a
President?
sec- We-
Council President, I'm gonna rescind my motion to table in case there's something that I'm missing. So I'm gonna
Yes.
rescind that.
Council President, through you.
Councilor Rodriguez and then Councilor De La Cruz.
My motion was to get a recommendation for the time frame and on the search. The other part of the motion, which is the salary, still alive. That was my motion. That's what it passed.
Can I, as the clerk, may I just,
Councilor Bernal?
the way I had understood it was you had a motion to approve the posting with a salary range of 95 to 115 and to have it be an emergency, put this out immediately to wait the 30 days. That was your first
That
motion.
was Mr. LaPlante's motion.
That's the motion by Councilor LaPlante.
Right, and then the second piece was how long for the posting? Was it 2 weeks? Was it 3 weeks? Do you want to still post and then determine the time frame later, or?
Councilor LaPlante?
As I understand it, Council President, the clerk, Councilor Burnell is correct. There was an underlying motion. Then Mr. Rodriguez, the council from District D, had a motion that we wait until we get the time frame from Mr. Bonet. And so that passed. So it's going to be very difficult to actually post something without a time frame. You can't, I don't think you can post something and not have a time frame in there. That's part of the job posting. You need to get your application into city personnel office by whatever date it is. And right now we don't know what date that is. So everything else that we're talking about, I think, has to be held up until that last piece.
No.
So I don't know how even if we vote on everything else tonight, we still can't move on a job posting until we know when the deadline is.
No.
So you still have your motion.
President,
Mr. President, if I might, to finish clarifying my point.
I think the council president might be frozen.
I think he's frozen again. Let's do this.
It was my turn. Yes, it was my turn to talk. Thank you.
So let me do this. I'm not going to call for a vote until the council president comes back. I think we're having a discussion right now. So let me just do this. Hopefully nobody finds any offense to this. I'm going to take the gavel right now for the sake of discussion only. We're not going to vote. And as I understand it, Mr. Rodriguez was in the middle of a discussion. We're going to let him finish that portion. Then Councilor De La Cruz will be next to have her point, and then whoever else is there. But he was finishing his point, Councilor De La Cruz, and then we can come back to you. Councilor Rodriguez.
Thank you so much, Mr. Vice President. The discussion, as far as I understand it, is that you have a motion on the table to approve the posting that we discussed on the committee of the whole. Within that posting, we have the salary range that your motion contained between 95 to 115,000. And then also within your motion, you have the portion time of sensitive time of 2 weeks, which we disagree, the council disagree and vote that we should wait on the time frame for the posting and the procedures according to how we're going to proceed, a recommendation from Bonet. So the posting is pending together with the time, the posting is pending together with the salary range between 95 to 115. So that part of your motion is still waiting for the city council to take a vote. So the only thing out of that motion to be able to move forward, you also waive the 30 days for the sensitive time that we are. So two things that are alive on your motion, and which I think that we should move forward on a vote on that today, which is posting together with the salary range and waiving the 30 days of that. With those three things, definitely Bonet have the ability to work, and basically with that posting approved, he will be able based on the how compacted or extends the posting is, he will be able to develop that recommendation to us and we be able to say yes or not. That doesn't have to be approved by the city council. It could be delegate to the city council president to work together with Fran Bonet to be able to move the process forward within the next few days, if it is possible. And potentially, you working with Fran Bonet after council president take over on January 8th. So those three things of what we're doing tonight is still pending that we should be taking action on tonight.
Well, I'm going to go with Councilor De La Cruz. Is the council president back?
No.
I see the council president, but he looks frozen still.
Yes.
Council President, when you do get back, please interject and the gavel goes right back to you. In the meantime, Councilor De La Cruz is next. Thank you, Mr. Rodriguez. Oh, the council president is back. Thank you. Go ahead, Council President.
Yes, Councilor De La Cruz.
Thank you, Mr. LaPlante. Mr. LaPlante, I understand very clear what Mr. Rodriguez is trying to say. We had two different motions on the table. One motion, the A, is the three items that you recommended at the beginning. We need to vote for those items tonight, because if we don't, then we're going to delay the process, which is fine. Let's vote for that tonight. And then the second one should be a B section of the salary range that we already voted for Mr. Bonet to work on that, like he did with the city attorney position, that it was well taken. Then please, let's not delay this tonight, because otherwise it's gonna take more than January to get the posting of the city clerk. Please understand that piece. You had three items on the plate that are needed for tonight. And then we leave the last one, which is a B section, for next meeting or until Mr. Bonet can sit down with us and discuss the matter. Then thank you very much, Mr. LaPlante. But I want you to understand clearly what it is that is needed to be done.
Mr. President?
Thank you, Councilor De La Cruz. Councilor Levy.
When does Bonet is coming back?
Councilors, I think that it's important, that we take one, let's break up the items as it's been recommended, because I feel that what's holding us back is the time frame. So let's make a decision on the recommendations that have been proposed first, and the time frame, we'll vote on it if we want to push for it. If not, then, but I think that let's not hold the whole document and the whole vote at this point. So I'm ready to call the motion.
Council President, I one more point. This will be very brief. And it just struck me as I'm listening. We do one thing as a city all the time that I think is going to solve this problem. And I'm sorry that sometimes the synapses don't always click as fast as I want them to. Oftentimes in our city, we keep it open-ended. We use the phrase until filled. Until filled. That takes the requirement out of it. It I think provides for us that kind of, if it's 5 days, it's 5 days. If it's 2 months, if it's 2 months, if it's a month, whatever it is that we're comfortable with, at least until filled, that special phrase, we do it right now in our job postings. And so I would encourage us that we can put that argument aside, whether it's my 3 weeks or 2 months or whatever. If I'm going to take that time frame out and I'm going to insert until filled on there, and maybe that's the resolution, maybe that's the compromise that we get to. Can we all agree that might be the best place to go?
The motion has been amended. I am ready to call the question. Madam Bernal, Councilor Bernal, roll call, please.
Council
That
President.
amendment, right, Council President?
So this is a motion to approve the posting with a salary range of 95 to 115, to making an emergency motion that will be posted immediately, and that it would be posted until filled. So that's the motion that's on the floor. Councilor Mark LaPlante.
Yes.
Councilor Giovanni Rodriguez.
I vote yes.
Councilor Maria De La Cruz.
Yes.
Councilor Pavel Payano,
Yes.
Councilor David Abdu,
Yes.
Councilor Selena Reyes,
Yes.
Councilor Ana Levy,
Yes.
Councilor Estela Reyes,
Yes.
and Council President Kendra Vasquez.
Vote is yes, the motion carries. Thank you. Thank you, Councilor LaPlante. Councilors, unless there's any other business at this point that you wish to discuss, the next document is a document under old business, document 26820, home rule petition to waive 4.11A of the Lawrence City Charter vacancy in the office of the mayor, special election. Councilor Estela Reyes submitted it. Unless there's anything else, I will be recusing myself and I will not participate as part of this discussion, and I will give the gavel over to the Council Vice President to continue the meeting. Mr. Vice President, you may.
Thank you very much, Council President. And as always, thank you so much for your leadership on this and all the other issues during the last your time as Council President. We appreciate that. On the floor, there was a charter objection at the last meeting. Now that we're back, the charter says that we come back to the next meeting and then continue the discussion. So the person who had the floor with that motion was the chairwoman of the Ordinance Committee, Chairwoman Estela Reyes. And before I say, I want to apologize to my colleagues here. Technical problem, rookie mistake. There were some colleagues who wanted to raise their hands like this, and I did not see them because the Zoom code was just on the top, but now I see all of you. I see the entire like Hollywood Square situation. So I should be a lot better at seeing your hand or voice if you wish to speak. So at this point, Council, the Chairwoman of the Ordinance Committee, which was the author of the motion, Estela Reyes, you have the floor.
Thank you, Councilor Vice President. I'm just going to leave it open for one of my colleagues that they probably want to bring more to the table before we call for motion and I give my point of view. So is any other councilor that might want to speak at this time?
I am seeing Mr. Payano, then I saw Mr. Abdu. And then I see Mr. Rodriguez. We're going to go in that order. Mr. Payano, then Mr. Abdu, then Rodriguez.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. I do have some comments, but before I do that, I believe that there might be some people that have called in to speak on this issue. So I would like the council to allow these individuals to speak and say, their points of view, whether in favor or against.
Thank you, Mr. Payano. This is the chair makes the chair's prerogative. The chair will embrace that and say yes. The only rule that the chair would have is that those who have not had a chance to speak, if they already spoke yesterday, we want to see new people who have something to say. And so based on your recommendation, Mr. Payano, the chair will allow folks to speak. I'm not sure. I can see people on the screen. So if you are part of the public who wishes to speak, do something like this with your hand. I see Mr. Gill, and please, if you would do me a favor, it will help the clerk out. Please put your name on there so we can see your name, and that helps the clerk out as we keep, because we do keep the minutes on this. So, Mr. Gill, I am going to unmute you right now, and then you will have the floor. And then just give your name and again, your name and address for the record. Go right ahead, sir. Unmute yourself.
Can you hear me?
Loud and clear. You got the floor.
First and foremost, thank you very much and happy holidays to all. Thank you very it's going to be a new year, and this has been a difficult year where COVID has dominated the world, not just Lawrence, but in Lawrence, we have got hit unproportionately very strong. The experiences I've had with COVID has changed my career. My name is Stephen Gill. I live at 21 Bailey Street. I have been a nurse in Lawrence, Massachusetts for 20 plus years. I have been a nurse at Lawrence General since 2005. I sit as vice chair of the Board of Health for the last decade, and I also sit as the political chair of the MNA, representing 75,000 plus nurses in the state of Massachusetts. I really hope there is a special election. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to speak yesterday but I did hear it. Every medical professional that lived in the city of Lawrence wants this election. COVID is horrible. I have personally got COVID twice. Thank the Lord, there is some relief in the future. There are 2 vaccines, and there are actually 3 president vaccines in phase 3 that should be rolling out probably in the next 30 days. Unfortunately, our city clerks are indicted with COVID, and I understand. I have received it twice. But thank the Lord, I just came out of quarantine about a month ago. So I have a warrant, I have a quarantine, or I have an immunity for 90 days. And everybody knows that I work in Lawrence General Hospital. And at one time, Lawrence General was inundated with COVID-19 patients, and I saw up to 85 people vented. That is not the case at Lawrence General Hospital anymore. People are sick, but we are not getting as sick as we were. COVID-19 at one time was something we didn't know, and healthcare workers was dying. People who know me on city council saw me on Univision crying for N95 masks. I'm not doing that anymore. Please do not take away my right to vote. COVID-19 is horrible. They are going to have an election in April in Andover. We've had several elections. In 1918, the worst pandemic ever, the elections did not stop. Please do not take away my right to vote. COVID-19 is horrible. People are getting sick, but I'm sick and tired of people taking away my right to vote or taking away the democratic view of a citizen who just wants to choose his leader. Please do not take away my right to vote. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Gill, and thank you for your service on the Board of Health. I see a hand of Ms. Ana Javier. I am going to unmute you, Ms. Javier. Go ahead and speak. And name and address again for the record. Go ahead.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Ana Javier, and I am a resident of Lawrence. I live in 9 Clifton Street in the city of Lawrence. I play many hats in this community, but I'm also a warden. So I work the elections, and a lot of times I think the poll workers and the wardens are not taken into consideration when we make a lot of the decisions most of the time that when we work there, it's considered volunteer because of the very low pay that everyone gets. And I'm sure everybody knows that. And we do it with a lot of joy for our community and everything, but that's really long, long hours. And in the middle of this pandemic, there was a big emphasis in terms of getting the right staffing out there. So I'm looking at what we have going on in the elections department. We're not having a clerk, not having, having Richard Reyes leaving and going through all this hiring process, but also I'm looking at how we are putting the people at risk, the workers and the wardens. We're very reluctant to working, including myself. So it is not a joke like a lot of people think it is. People might get it once or twice, but I know some people that are alive and talking about it, but I also know, and I have buried a few people that I know. So I want that also to be taken into consideration. I think we have a president to this city council, and I think there are other people that are also capable of doing this job for the timing that it has.
Ms. Javier, are you complete? I'm sorry about that. Someone else just came in, but the rest of your thought, you were not muted by me. That was not by me.
Yes, no, it was just somebody else that wasn't muted. That's okay. Yeah, so I just wanted to voice that out, that when we make these decisions, we should take into consideration not only our own personal view, but also thinking of all the poll workers that are risking out there and all the, the wardens. We're left with a big responsibility. And I'll be honest with you, this year I was ready to say, I'm not doing this anymore. It's really, a really delicate thing to be doing out there. We're putting ourselves at a lot of risk for the, just to try to get the job done, to help the city out. So just take all that into consideration as well. I don't take it lightly what is happening.
I do not take it lightly.
I attend many meetings with the doctors from Lawrence General, from Greater Lawrence, and other doctors, you know, within our community, and I know exactly what is going on as well. I'm not a nurse, but I know what is going on within my city. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Javier. We appreciate your comments this evening. If you're looking to speak, just raise your hand on the screen so I could see you. I will also ask if you see Mr. Rivera, I will also ask, we're waiting, to please put your name on there. That helps our clerk out as we take the minutes here and put all your comments as part of the record. Mr. Rivera, your name, your full name and address for the record, and I'm unmuting you right now. So go ahead, can you, are you on, Mr. Rivera? Can you speak?
Yes, thank you very much for this wonderful opportunity. Council President and board members, here to just, I would like to have someone just clarify and let the city people know that this is a potential situation where it's not that you're losing your right to vote the whole time. This is a one-time deal that is just because of the situation that we're in and the emergency that we're in. It's not that we're taking your right to vote forever. This is just a one-time deal for this particular time that we're living in. So my name is Richard Rivera, 98 Andover Street, Lawrence, Massachusetts. Thank you for the wonderful opportunity. You guys have a good day.
Thank you, Mr. Rivera, and thank you for your service to our city. We do appreciate it. I am looking to see if anybody else wishing to speak this evening. I'm looking to see if there's any hands raised on the camera. I am not seeing any. I'm going to look one more time. I am not seeing anybody else. All right, so this part of the public participation segment, thanks to Mr. Payano, is, and by the way, we're not, if you haven't spoken already, we welcome your comments tonight, but this is not every night we're doing this. So at this point, we're going to call this over. And I think that Mr. Payano, you had the floor. Do you still wish to keep the floor, or do you wish to now move it over to Mr. Abdu?
So yes, I'd like to keep the floor. Thank you.
Sure.
And thank you, Mr. Vice President, for allowing the individuals that still wanted to speak the opportunity for that. So I think, throughout this process, it's this question has definitely been up front in my mind. And I'll be honest with all of my colleagues and those of you guys that are listening, it's something that it's upset me a little bit. Not a little bit, it's upset me a lot. What we're talking about is potentially taking away a democratic right for a community. We have from what I've heard the question about money. While, I could say that, money shouldn't be a question when we're talking about democracy. I understand that. But at the same time, we have over $14 million surplus. So the question about money doesn't necessarily is one that I think is strong enough to take that right away. I've heard about COVID, but as we heard from Stephen from the Board of Health, COVID is not necessarily if it's done how we did the elections in September and November. COVID, we can run safe elections regardless of COVID. We have communities outside in the area that are going to be having elections in March. We have special elections that are going to be going on in the Boston area pretty soon, and they will all take place during this pandemic. I think we have to do everything possible to ensure that our democratic foundations stay whole. The biggest concern that I have is, yes, I think all of us, is regarding the management of the elections. But those of you that were around in 2004 when we lost a city clerk, we went out and we figured out ways to ensure that there was a proper leadership to run that election. We, they brought outside counsel. They had the city attorney's office involved. They asked the State Department not State Department, the Secretary of State for assistance. I think that's something, instead of us looking to take out the elections for the residents of Lawrence, I think that's the approach that we should take. And as well, there's a question around stability. I think there's been mentioned, we might not want several mayors at one time. I think while that's a great opinion, I think that should be the people that decide. If the people want to elect somebody for 1 year and then elect somebody else to run for a 4-year term, that's the right of the people, not this body. So that was my initial feelings regarding waiving the election. One of my big concerns now is that we're not just asking for a waiver of the election, we're trying to amend, essentially create and change policies as well. Because if the city council president becomes the mayor, now there's an absence of leadership in District C, a district that I lived most of my life and that I happened to serve for 7 years. If we pass this, we're saying that there will not be a city councilor in District C. I don't think that's right. The District C is Tower Hill and the Arlington community. The Arlington community is one of the poorest districts, not just in our city, but in our Commonwealth. It's a district that needs support, and we are doing two things, and it does not make any sense to me. There's been a motion since the beginning. There's been a push to try to have public hearings regarding this. Us having this conversation during a holiday season struck me odd. Us not having a public hearing on this, I think, is wrong on so many levels. Whether people agree or disagree, I think creating a public notice, letting the people be aware that this is happening. A lot of people don't know. I mean, with Christmas and New Year's coming in, there weren't a lot of people that were paying attention to what might be going on in city government. A lot of people do not understand. They do not understand why we are taking this approach, and they believe that an election will be coming up. So those are my thoughts around this. I don't, while we have heard from the city attorney saying regarding that a hearing is not needed, I think for something like this, it should be. And when we look at the laws across the state, they clearly state that changes to our charter should go through a certain process. And it's not the process that we are going through today. I think there's a lot of different things that strike anyone that hears about this as odd. There's a lot of things that don't necessarily reach the mark of taking away a fundamental right. And I hope that we do not pass this. I think the biggest concern around is regarding the elections department. And the question is, how do we ensure that there's sufficient support and leadership to make that happen? And I think that our leadership, we should be able to do that. We could have a discussion with the former city clerk and seeing if the former city clerk would be interested in taking a temporary role in leading the elections department. I think that there's certain discussions that we could have with the Secretary of State to help us and to give us support to do this. We shouldn't automatically go to taking away a fundamental right. I think this is an opportunity to ensure that we have a good, transparent election. And I urge my colleagues to vote against this motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Payano. The floor is Mr. Abdu next, followed by Mr. Rodriguez, followed by Councilor Levy.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. I want to open with some thoughts. I 2 weeks ago, when I voted for a public hearing in a public process, I too was surprised that something like a home rule petition didn't require it. But that is the same charter that that is the same charter that we're looking to alter briefly today. You know, we are only looking to do this, the proponents, which I count myself as a proponent. The city's not ready. You just heard our last discussion regarding the city clerk, and it was a good discussion, and it was a needed discussion. And you know, we just approved a process that could take the entire month of January or longer to do the right thing and select the right person.
Police were saying about how it happened.
We don't have the capacity, in my opinion. We have no one in the elections department today. The chief elections officer has submitted his resignation. The city clerk is already gone, and that will be empty shortly. The clerk's office was closed today, as was previously stated in the last segment. COVID is at its peak now, and who's to say this is the ceiling? So COVID is real. I do believe some people don't give it what it's due. This is real, and it plays a factor in our capacity to conduct a safe, secure, reliable election just 6 months before a regularly scheduled election. Add to that the environmental aspect of it's winter. Everyone here knows what winter in March could be, right? Yeah, Andover's doing it, Methuen's doing it. I don't know the details. I'm not an expert on what our neighbors are doing. But what I do know, having been on the ballot off and on for 14 years, is that it's never a smooth day in Lawrence. We get it done, we exercise democracy, but it's never smooth. And when you don't have an elections officer, you don't have an elections department today, or a city clerk, that's a capacity issue. Throw in a winter snowstorm, and that's a capacity issue. You know, risk. The second item is risk. We heard from someone earlier regarding poll workers. You're putting poll workers at unnecessary risk. And I say that, not that democracy is not necessary. I've worn the uniform of this country. I've taken an oath. I believe in democracy. And we have a regularly scheduled election 6 months after. There's no way we're going to have an election special before March. So if you look at March as being a target month, we have regularly scheduled primaries in September for a 4-year term of mayor. So you've got poll workers, you've got the police that work the polls, you've got the voters themselves, and you've got the city employees that we're going to find someplace to run a special election. So we need to ask ourselves as leaders, is that responsible risk management? I don't believe so. You know, the last thing is, my last point is, it's not about the money. Everybody keeps saying it's about the money. I haven't heard anyone use money as the primary reason for not doing this. I certainly don't. It is a mix of all of these things, and we all are entitled to our opinions, and we're going to disagree. What's regrettable is that, you know, on radio and elsewhere, you have people politicizing it and personalizing it. I don't begrudge anyone who tonight I disagree with, because I respect my colleagues. I know they don't do things just for the sake of doing them. And they represent the district councilors. We represent, if you divide the city up, 14,000 people per district, and then the at-large have far more. So I know we take these things seriously, and we disagree. We need to lower the temperature on the rhetoric. It's important that we be responsible when we talk about these things, because we don't have the capacity. And we talked about that. We have COVID. You cannot downplay that. Phase 3 is not going to begin until April. So vaccines will not be widely available until April. First responders now, phase 2 in February, phase 3 in April. That's a fact. Check it out. So I don't think 6 months is a long time to wait from a potential special election in April until the primary in September. And in a moment, I'm going to offer an amendment to the author that I would asked to amend her, and I'll give that in a moment, but to expedite the seating of the next mayor. When the mayor is elected in November, that once that vote is certified by the Board of Registrars, that mayor take the seat. You know, and with respect to democracy, I'm going to offer another amendment that would backfill the council president's seat in District C to fill that seat until the November elections, at which time the new mayor is seated and the council president resumes his role for the rest of his term. And this is all transparent. You know, you can argue a public hearing is different than public participation. I voted for a public hearing. You know, District D, I have nothing, you know, and by the way, I heard overwhelmingly, I didn't hear from a lot of people, but I heard overwhelmingly in favor of foregoing for 5 or 6 months. I have heard objections, and I respect everyone I heard from. But, you know, I post this information. I know a lot of you do the same. And I just hope tonight, once this vote concludes, or if it's continued, however this goes, that we get back together again in the morning and we work together towards solutions, and we don't let this politicize. And frankly, if we have a special election tomorrow, I will be back in the special election. I don't think we're going to be able to pull it off without significant help from Secretary Galvin and the Commonwealth, but be it as it may. I rest on my comments, but Madam Chair of the Ordinance Committee and author of this, I would like to offer a few amendments. I don't sit on the Ordinance Committee, but I saw the draft that was widely circulated. Before I offer them, I just want to, as an administrative note, Madam Chair, I also sent it to you, as you know, via email, and I sent it to, if I could be so, to Clerk Burnell, our acting clerk this evening. So, Madam Chair and author of this, I would like to offer a series of friendly amendments. I'll offer them and take a break between each to get your acceptance and non-acceptance and move on. I'd like to offer a friendly amendment to the home rule petition. In the first sentence of the first paragraph titled Section 1 of the proposal, currently known as 26820, that the following words be added after the word mayor in the first sentence of the first paragraph, after the word mayor. Until the mayor elected in the regularly scheduled 2021 municipal election is provided the oath of office immediately upon certification of that election. Would you like me to read them all, Madam Author, or would you like me to?
Please.
Okay.
You may, yeah, please.
A second amendment, and it's a nod to my colleague Councilor Payano's comments earlier about District C, is I'd like to offer a further friendly amendment to the proposed home rule petition that after the word shall in the second sentence of the first paragraph titled Section 1 be inserted after the word shall be appointed as provided for by the City of Lawrence City Charter, paragraph A or B of subsection 9 of section 3. This addresses the backfill of the council president's seat for most of the year.
Yes.
The third amendment is the longest. I would like to offer a third amendment to the proposed home rule petition after the third paragraph to be inserted as a new fourth and fifth paragraph, the following. The mayoral candidate elected in the regularly scheduled 2021 municipal election will be immediately seated, administer the oath of office, and assume all powers of mayor immediately upon the proper certification by the Board of Registrars and serve the balance of the then unexpired term of the mayor. The acting mayor, provided for by this petition, will resume their city council role for the remaining term of the current city council term. The appointed city councilor filling the president's seat as provided for by the City of Lawrence City Charter, paragraph A or B of subsection 9 of section 3, shall immediately be relieved of their service once the oath of office is administered to the elected mayor and the former acting mayor resumes his or her elected duties as a city councilor, resumes the role of president, and at which time the acting city council president therefore resumes his or her role as vice president. Lastly, Fourth Amendment, Section 2, to add Section 2, this act shall take effect immediately upon its passage. And with that, Madam Chair of the Ordinance Committee and author of this motion, I offer you these four to those on the, I can email this within the next minute or two to all, or I could ask the city clerk, I'll send it to the city clerk and she could, the acting city clerk, and hopefully she can send it to all of us. So with that, Madam Chair of the Ordinance Committee,
I will accept the amendment. I will accept the amendment.
all four amendments.
All four.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, so the motion now has been amended, and we will recap that before the actual vote. And then we're going to continue on. Mr. Rodriguez is next, and I'm sorry. I think that Councilor De La Cruz actually raised her hand. Did you raise your hand, Councilor De La Cruz, as well? You did.
Yes.
Okay, and I know that Miss Levy did, and I made a little mistake there. So it's going to go in this order: Mr. Rodriguez, Miss De La Cruz, then Miss Levy. That was the order that we originally started. So, Mr. Rodriguez, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President and members of the City Council. So I would like to essentially be able to probably understand a little more what we're doing. So Section 411 of the City Charter established a procedure in terms of the mayor's vacancy or vacancy in the mayor's office or the mayor's seat. So what we're doing essentially is changing that section 4.11 of the city charter for year 2021 only to the amendment and the proposed that Councilor for District B is proposing and amended by Councilor for District E a second ago. Is that correct?
So the question is whether or not there was an amendment to the motion. The answer is yes. The councilor, the chairman, chairwoman has accepted the friendly amendment by Councilor District D.
Let me rephrase my wording. So essentially, we're changing the section 4.11 of the charter to what we just discussed a second ago. So the section 4.11 of the charter read the vacancy on the office of the mayor. So for year 2021, we are not taking that into consideration. Section 411 of the Lawrence City Charter, and we're changing it for document that we've been discussing that was just read a couple of seconds ago. So we're changing the charter section 411 to what we're reading today. That's my question.
So as the chair understands it, the original motion deals with section 4.11, and that is what the question's about. In addition to that, what the amendment offers, and at some point the author of the amendment may want to clarify specifically because it is their amendment, that it does. Are you looking at section 4, what, Council, Mr. Rodriguez?
So
Section 4,
essentially,
what?
I wanted to know if we're replacing for year 2021, section 411 of the city charter with an amendment that we just read a couple of seconds ago that I have on my hands, this one.
Yeah, I think that's, the Councilor Avenue, this is your amendment, but I believe that to be accurate.
I mean, we have a new document.
I
but
understand that you're
just
trying
wanna
to,
know
I think that
if-
Mr. Abbott is trying to change this for a one-time amendment, because the charter says one thing, and he's looking to amend the charter for this one time only, special clause. And I guess that's more of a legal question. Now I'm going to bring in
Yes.
Mr. Hooton. Attorney Hooton, are you with us?
Yeah.
All right. So maybe you could help a little bit. I'm not sure if you had the privilege and to look at the language. Do you have the language?
I do not, unfortunately.
Clerk Brunel, can we make sure that Mr. Hooton gets the amendment?
Yes.
And Mr. Abdu, I'm not sure you're able to do it as well. Either one of you, as quickly as you can, so we can take a look at that.
Mr. President, I've sent it to you and the clerk, and she's acknowledged. So she's got all the amendments now.
All right. Acting Clerk Brunel, could you forward that over to Mr. Hooton?
I just sent it to him right now, so hopefully he received it. It literally just went out though right now.
Okay. So Mr. Rodriguez, he's going to take a look at it. Let's go to your next question if you have one,
So,
and
but
allow him the
essentially,
opportunity to
I
read it.
wanted to know whether is this language or the one proposed yesterday, are we changing the city charter section 411 to the current amendment that we're presenting? The one from yesterday or the one in the ordinance committee? So I just wanted to make sure that that's what we're doing. If we're changing the city charter section 411, that read as the vacancy in the office of the mayor to the language that we have. That's my questions. So we're not going to use for 2021 section 411 of the charter of the Lawrence City Charter, and we're going to use the paragraph that we were discussing last night, or the paragraph that we were discussing a week ago. Doesn't matter. I mean, just want to make sure that we're not using section 411 of the city charter.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Hooton. We're putting on a lot of pressure here. Did you have a chance to take a look at that real quick, and are you able to?
I do have it in front of me, yes, thank you.
Okay. Are you able to respond to Mr. Rodriguez's question, which is, are we amending the charter, or are we having a special act of the legislature, which essentially, I think is his question.
Again, what you are doing is that you are not, I don't call it amending the charter. I call it that you are asking the legislature to impose to allow that the charter as written not be implemented because of certain conditions. And the special conditions I would gather here is the COVID problems with elections. So no matter what language you're using, an amendment to the charter strikes me as something that's permanent. This is not, and would have to go to a charter committee. We're not looking to amend the charter. You're looking to be not subject to it for a particular reason. And
that's going to happen. If I might, Mr. President, I want to ask Tim about the following question.
That's in order. Go ahead.
Essentially, we are not necessarily changing the charter changing the city charter today, but we are amending it for year 2021 to use the language that we presented to us, correct?
Again,
otherwise we were going to be using the original language of section 411. So if we're not using 411 for year 2021, we're using the current language here for year 2021, which established what we just read a couple of seconds ago, correct?
Just to be very almost nitpicky, is that you're not amending anything. You are asking the legislature to allow it. Your vote has no effect. Your vote is to make a presentation to the legislature to allow them to do it. So again, if if you want to say directly, are you amending? No, you're not amending anything. You're requesting permission from the legislature to be relieved from it.
But if we're not changing the charter, and then we should be just using a straight section 411, which establish procedures that if we decide to go this way, we are changing it to another way. I just want to make sure that we agree upon that we're changing the charter for year 2021, because otherwise we were going to be using section 411 tonight, or when the mayor leave, and the discussion that we have tonight wouldn't happen, because we have a process in place in section 411 of the city charter that is in case that the mayor is not with us any longer. So if we're not using that section 411, it's because we're asking the legislator to change that section for year 2021 to the one that we are presenting, this one.
You are asking to be relieved of it? Yes. Again, I don't want to parse words. You're not amending it. This written form will not appear anyplace. You're just asking the legislature that you be allowed to not have to conform to the charter in this.
Exactly. So we essentially asking the legislator to allow us to amend what we have on the book to use this specific language that we have in front of us. So essentially we are making an amendment, not changing it permanently, just for year 2021. That's what we're doing.
Yeah, again, without getting too technical, the end result is you are asking to impose new conditions rather than those contained in the charter. Yes.
Exactly. So essentially, new conditions are coming in. New conditions are going to be part of the charter for the year 2021, because we are not using section 411 of the Lawrence City Charter. Instead, we're using the current home rule petition if it gets approved by the legislator. Yeah. So this is a way of changing what we have on section 411 and using this that we have in front of us today. Yeah. So amending the charter for year 2021.
Yes, requesting relief, but yes.
Requesting relief.
I don't want to personally, yes.
With an amendment. Because otherwise, if we just request a release or we're looking for a waiver of that section, that means that the mayor seat will remain unfilled if we leave. If we're just looking for a waiver, so that means that section 411 doesn't exist.
I understand what you're saying. We're not deleting the whole section. We're asking that new language be interpreted. Correct.
Exactly. So essentially, we're not deleting section 411. Perfect. But we're asking the legislator to use this new section for year 2021.
We are. That is correct.
That's we are exactly. So we are presenting an amendment to the section 411 for year 2021. Instead of using exactly how it is there today, that we're going to be using this with the specific language that we are discussing tonight.
That is correct.
Correct. So we are amending that section to be the new section for year 2021. Correct. All right. I just wanna make sure that we understand what we're doing on section 411 of the city charter.
Okay, is that it, Mr. Rodriguez?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And just to clarify, we're petitioning the legislature, which is what the attorney continues to make sure. We can't do anything unilaterally. It is a petition. The legislature is not required to take it. It's not required to accept it. It's not required to vote upon it. The governor's not required to sign it into law. This is a petition to the legislature. And thank you for bringing that point up, because I think a lot of people, Mr. Rodriguez, are confused by the fact that they think the city council can do this unilaterally, and that's not in fact the case. As the attorney just said, it's only a petition to the legislature. So thank you for that comment. I am now going to go to Councilor.
The Lawrence City Charter.
And I'm going now, thank you to Councilor De La Cruz. and then to Councilor Levy. So Councilor De La Cruz, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. LaPlante. My point is, as we all know, we are in winter time. Winter time means that COVID-19 is spreading more and more. I know of families that are dying. I know people, neighbors who are dying. And we are now putting COVID-19 as our concern number one. I wish that this city, that my people understand that we need to make fast decision with whoever mayor that we have. We have to make sure that we have everything that we need in this city to protect our people from COVID-19. Because even if people don't care, people are dying. We have a very rich community where people are getting contagious. Even little kids are getting sick. Then my point is, we have to deal with this tonight, and we have to care about our people. Even if we have to go back to make whatever we can to protect the people in this city. We're not even talking about kids in school. We're not talking about kids in school because they're home, but they're getting sick at home because families are getting sick. Then what are we going to do if we don't have things in place? This pandemic cannot stop this city from moving forward. We need to move forward. We need to do what we need to do. And we need to make sure that in 3 months, we have solution to many problems that are coming. People need to have food in their house. People need to have medications. People need to have insurance and all of that. Then that's my concern today. I don't know why we don't make decisions that are going to favor the community of Lawrence. Let's think as a community. Let's think about as a whole that we need to move forward, that we need to care, and that we need to put attention to this pandemic that is killing my neighbors, my friends, my family. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councilor De La Cruz. The next councilor who's requested to speak tonight is Councilor Anna Levy. Councilor Levy, you have the floor.
Thank you, Council President. My concern at this point, and I understand that COVID is something real. It's for everyone, it's for every family, for every single person that we have, not just only in the city, but through the world right now. It's expanding. What's another things, that is more dangerous, 70 times more than the one that we are having right now. This is understandable. This is very sad. This caused a lot of thinking in everything that is happening right now here in the city of Lawrence. So I know that Lawrence is one of the first cities that is being red for the last few weeks, few months, and many things is happening. All of this is true, and we all, I think so that we all think about, and that is a concern that we are also taking into consideration in what we are doing right now. But I think so that still people should have the right to decide on what they want. Suspending an special election is undemocratic. The voters in the city of Lawrence, no individual, not a few individuals, should have the right to elect the next mayor as the charter outlined. Many years ago, I just remember that it was part for more than 7 years. We sued the city for the violation of voting right. And in 1985, 19 something, that was taken into consideration that Lawrence has been always, trying to, people are violating the voting right of the cities. And for more than 7 years, like from 1994, 1996, we were fighting with the city, along with the Justice Department, through the voting right. So this is being always an issue in here in Lawrence. And my consideration is that we should have the election. We did have an election in September. We did have an election. We took all the precautions. And I think so that we should take all of the precaution again. But not just only that, I know and we understand that we are having problem. We don't have the staff, but we should hire staff, as soon as possible, and to get people the right to vote and take it and decide who's going to be the next person to be the mayor of the Lawrence. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councilor Levy. Are there any other councilors who wish to speak? I'm going to remind the chairwoman of the ordinance committee that I believe that there is some further amendments and language to clarify it that were advised, if this were to be successful, that were advised by the state legislature. And I want to make sure that that language is also included in the document, Madam Chair. And if it's helpful for you, Madam Chair, I think one of them is a provision that states something to the following that, I guess in previous home rule petitions, other communities have included language like the following, quote, provided that the general court may reasonably vary the form and substance of the required legislation within the scope of the general public objectives of the petition. And what that does, I think, is explained, is that if there's a little nuance, not a big change, but a little nuance, they have the ability to make a technical change to make the language flow, but it's still going to follow the intent of, if this vote passes tonight, the intent of the council. So Madam Chair, is that something that you're looking to include in your motion?
I will accept that as an amendment. Yes.
I can't make the amendment, Councilor, but if you want to make that part, that's your prerogative. I can't.
I will make that part as a part of the amendment.
Okay.
I mean, I'll accept that to add.
Sure. And then, Councilor, I'm presuming that you might have, you may be privy, because you're the chair, of the other things that they're looking for. Do you have the ability now to let the full membership know the other recommendations, if you're comfortable with it, that they recommend that if we were to adopt this, that should be part of the language?
So which one is that one? I'm not quite clear about that.
So I think the advice that was provided, again, if this thing were to go through, the advice provided, I think we dealt with the first one. I think through the amendment, this is dealing with the council president, and we made that clear through the amendment process. The second one, it says that the president shall serve for the balance of the expired term, and the wording should reflect unexpired term. And as a matter of fact, why don't I do this just to cut me out of this a little bit? Let me bring the clerk in. She might be able to help facilitate this a little bit better. Clerk Brunel, Acting Clerk Brunel.
Thank you. Thank you, Counselor. The edits that were recommended by the legislature was clarification on the district seat, which Counselor Abdu actually dealt with. The second was there's possibly a typo in the paragraph 2 of section 1. It reads, the president of the city council as acting mayor shall have all powers of the mayor and shall serve for the balance of the then expired term of the mayor. And it should actually be the unexpired term of the mayor. So if someone would want to make an amendment to make that one correction. And then if you want to do them together, there's a second correction in the next paragraph that is it reads, the successor of the council president shall not receive any additional financial benefit for the remainder of this term. Where the charter calls for the vice president to serve as the president, they were recommending that we just clarify that and state that the council vice president as the successor of the council president shall not receive, just to clarify that it's exactly who we're speaking of, shall not receive any additional financial benefit for the remainder of this term. So those are the other two edits that haven't been dealt with that they did recommend.
Ordinance Committee Chairwoman Reyes. Your thoughts on that? Is that something you want to include in your motion?
Yes, yes. As a matter of fact, I forward that documents to, I think, to every one of you. You should have part of your package.
Yes.
Am I correct that we forward that because
Yes, Councilor.
yeah. Anyone else who want to speak?
So the last question that I would have, Counselor, is, and Counselor, we're going to give you the last word this evening because you are the author of the amendment. I have a question for the Attorney Houghton. Houghton, excuse me. Are you still there with us, Attorney?
I am.
Very good. My question is, would this petition need an emergency preamble or just as it is written?
Does not need an emergency preamble, no.
Thank you. Is there any other colleagues who wish to speak before I turn the floor over to the Councilor Chairwoman for final votes, final words, and then a vote? Hearing none, Madam Chair of the Ordinance Committee, the floor is yours, and then I will call for a vote.
Thank you, Vice President. First of all, thank you all. I think it's important for not only for my colleague, but I think for the public just to hear from me what was the reason behind that motivated me to place this item in the agenda. First, as you know, I got infected by COVID, and I think I was the first one. It didn't last 2 weeks, like it's a normal time or time frame that people think this is when you're going to be okay. That was the first one. The second reason was that we're not going to be talking about one election in the middle of a pandemic. It's going to be 3 elections: the special election, the primary, and the final election. The third, and was no less important, I have lost 4 members of my family from COVID. This is serious. That was my reason behind this. Has no personal intention to place anyone to fill a seat. That has nothing to do with that. And what you have in front of you is a proposal that anyone has the right to go forward and vote in favor or to against and vote no. I'm only one person. We are 8 in total. I'm not taking any right to none of my colleagues and not of the public. This is something open. I can give you my reason and you will take it or you will against it. So this is what we're here for. That was my reason. Going back to last night and before we called the motion, I just want to clarify and thank you, Vice President, because you didn't recognize last night when I was trying to clarify that, but you gave me the opportunity. If it was because the counselor who was saying that we sent this document to order a public hearing, if you didn't receive that in your package, my apologies for you not to receive it. But if it was because you want us to look or made me look incompetent, I think you have full confidence on me be doing this and serve it as the chair for almost 10 years. You all have the motion. I think you all receive it. You can check your package. The motion has been sent with favor recommendation to recommend it allow public participation. That has nothing to do with public hearing. That has nothing to do with part of the motion that my members has sent out to you. With no any other further, unless that you have any question for me, I would like to call the motion, accepting all the amendments. And again, you have the right to say no, and you also have the right to say yes. I never had mentioned that my reason was behind because the city didn't have money. When we are in the middle of pandemic, I don't think money is more important than our health. Thank you, Vice President. And I'm just gonna leave it up to us just to make the better decision, not only for our family, but also for our community. Thank you.
Thank you very much. There's no further discussion. I'm going to call the roll. Acting Clerk Brunel, please call the roll.
Councilor Estela Reyes,
Yes.
Councilor Ana Levy, Councilor Ana Levy,
You need the roll, Counselor. If she's back, we'll take her vote. Continue, please.
Councilor Selena Reyes,
Yes.
Councilor David Abdu,
Yes.
Councilor Pavel Payano,
No.
Councilor Maria de la Cruz,
Yes.
Councilor Giovanni Rodriguez,
No.
Councilor Vice President Mark LaPlante,
Yes.
Council President Kendra Vasquez.
Can you go back to Counselor Anna Levy
Ana
just in
Levy.
case?
Councilor Levy,
Duly noted. The motion passes by a vote of 5-2. Counselors who are on the prevailing side this evening, after the Acting Clerk Brunel concludes the typing, which is a lot now, of the amended document, there will be, because of the time sensitivity, because of the end of the session with the legislature, this needs to get to the legislature tomorrow. That is a deadline by the legislature because of their end of session. So because of that, those who are on the prevailing side should expect to see a police officer with this document for you to sign the petition. Those on the prevailing side, Councilor Brunel, will you please read off those councilors on the prevailing side we should expect to get this later this evening, this document to sign?
Council Vice President, I have a
I have asked Councilor Brunel for that name. Councilor Brunel?
Thank you, Councilor. I apologize, I was on mute. The councilors that voted, the Councilor Vice President Mark LaPlante, Councilor Maria de la Cruz, Councilor Estela Reyes, Councilor David Abdu, and Councilor Selena Reyes.
Very good. Thank you very much. There is no further.
I have a parliamentary question.
There is a question of parliamentary procedure, Mr. Rodriguez. Yes, sir.
Yes.
What's your question?
I would like to refer to Section 89 of the Massachusetts Constitution, Section 4, Chapter 89, Section 4 of the Massachusetts Constitution that reads as follows. Section 4, procedures for amendment of chattel by the city or town. Every city and town shall have the power of amend its chattel and the following matters: the legislative body of the city of a city or town might, by 2/3 of the vote, propose amendment to the chattel of a city or town. The motion that we just passed, or the motion that we just go for a question, roll call, have only 5 votes to represent a non-majority vote, which means that the motion fails. And if you're ruling that this motion to be approved by 5 votes, this is going against Chapter 89 of the Massachusetts the Section 89, Chapter 4 of Chapter 89 of Section 4 of the Massachusetts Constitution. This is not a motion that passed. You need a majority vote based on the Massachusetts Constitution. On Chapter 89, Section 4, 2/3 of the vote is required.
Thank you. Is that it, Mr. Thank you, Mr. Rodriguez. We appreciate those comments. I'm of two minds, frankly. If this is out of order, the legislature will not adopt it. That's the first thing. They are the foolproof. This is a petition. This is not we are not changing the charter. The legislature is changing the charter because this is a petition. If I'm misspeaking, I am going to ask for Mr. Hooten's advice on this, but I'm of the mind at this point, unless I'm misspeaking, the vote has been taken by the council, and we're going to take a motion to adjourn. Mr. Hooten, am I right or wrong on this?
My interpretation is the same as yours, Mr.
Very good. So I will now entertain a motion to adjourn. Is there such a motion?
Mr. Vice President, I would like to challenge your decision.
Motion made by
I would like
Mr.
to challenge
Abdu.
your decision, Mr. Vice President.
Motion
You
made
have
by
to
Mr.
recognize
Abdu.
My challenge. You have to
Motion-
recognize my challenge.
I second.
Motion has been made by Mr. Abdu.
You
It's
have to
been
recognize my
seconded.
challenge. This is gonna go to the court.
Mr. Abdu has made the motion.
And
It has been seconded by Councilor Estela Reyes. As we do with any motion, is there a
And
discussion?
I'm telling you your decision from the previous motion because you actually recognize it as passed and it failed.
So, so I will call into order that there's a challenge. Is there a second to the rule, the challenge of the chair?
This is gonna go to court if you don't recognize it.
It's not been seconded. So now, pardon me?
Second.
So now there's been a challenge to just for fairness, because we believe in rules. Mr. Rodriguez has challenged the opinion of the chair, which has received the backing of the city attorney, which is going to be going to the legislature. It has been seconded by Mr. Payano. If you choose to agree with the challenge, you will be
Listen to the
voting
people.
affirmative. If you agree with the chair and on the advice of the city attorney, your vote should be no. Roll call vote.
You're telling them how to vote. That's
I am-
also illegal.
I am telling which way it is. That's the way it is. I'm not telling how to vote. That's the way it's the question.
You should vote no. You just say it.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. Unmute yourself, Mr. Rodriguez. That was my fault. I apologize. Unmute yourself. I'm sorry. Unmute. Councilor Brunel, please read the roll.
Councilor
Mr.
Giovanni Rodriguez.
Mr. Rodriguez, please unmute yourself. Please unmute yourself.
You mute me. You
I'm
quiet.
trying to unmute you. I apologize. What's your
Speaking.
vote? What's your vote, Counselor?
Of what? After you mute me?
Counselor, the vote, could you
There's a
please?
motion on the floor to challenge the chair. I'm calling the roll on that motion and I'm asking you, Councilor. Yes?
Yes, I'm voting yes, of course.
Okay. Councilor Maria De La Cruz.
No.
Councilor Pavel Payano. Councilor Payano.
I did not put him on mute. Counselor Payano, unmute yourself, please.
Of course you did. Someone
did.
did. And you have the control to do it.
I did not do it, Mr.
Counselor
Rodriguez.
Payano?
Please, Mr. Payano.
Yes.
Thank you.
Councilor David Abdu.
No.
Councilor Selena Reyes.
No.
Councilor Ana Levy.
Yes.
Councilor Estela Reyes.
No.
Council President Kenneth Vasquez noted, and Council Vice President Mark LaPlante.
No. The motion fails. The motion to adjourn. Council, Acting Clerk Brunel, please call the roll.
Motion to adjourn is Councilor Estela Reyes.
Yes.
Councilor Ana Levy.
Yes.
Councilor Selena Reyes.
Yes.
Councilor David Abdu.
Yes.
Councilor Pavel Payano.
Yes.
Councilor Maria De La Cruz.
Yes.
Councilor Giovanni Rodriguez.
Yeah.
Councilor Vice President Mark LaPlante.
Yes.
And Council President Kenneth Vasquez noted.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you for the discussion this evening. We will see you next Tuesday for our regular city council meeting. Thank you.
Happy New Year, everybody.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Happy New
Happy
Year.
New Year, everyone.